This slide discusses the connection of literary criticism with literary theory. Over here, we will trace the history that when did literary criticism take the form of literary theory. Coming towards literary criticism is as old as Greek literature. If we go back to Greek literature, we see that in 500 BC we had Greek critics like Aristotle and all. And then came Romans like Horace and Longinus. And we see that in Roman times, literature and philosophy developed so much. So, coming towards the after Romans, we come towards Great Britain, and we see that the very first person from Great Britain was Sir Philip Sidney, who wrote Defense of Poesy. And later on, we had Enlightenment critics as well as Romantics and Victorians. Now, by Victorian period, criticism reached its peak. And in Victorian times, we have seen philosophers like Nietzsche, psychologists like Sigmund Freud coming up with most extraordinary and challenging ideas. And then in modern times, we see that literary criticism takes the shape of literary theory because the word, uh, with the coming of World War One and later on World War Two, it starts uh, flooding with astonishing discoveries in the domain of psychology as people become more interested in the human psyche and in understanding the workings of human mind. And we see that so many challenging ideologies like existentialism and nihilism are they are introduced, and we see that there are so many discoveries as well as um, a lot of work is being done in the fields of economy and a lot more. So modern age is the focal point in the span of history in which we see that literary criticism got the shape of literary theory. So literary criticism is the initial domain that leads us to literary theory, which in turn introduces us to the world of understanding and interpreting literature in the backdrop of socio-political, religious, economical, and cultural issues and ideologies. So, literary theory, what does it do? It introduces us to the world of not only, it does not only talk about uh, literary theory, does not only concern or talk about literature. Its job is not to interpret literature only, rather, it talks about the social, political, religious, economical, cultural issues, problems, and the cultural ideologies working of all these um, domains in the backdrop of the piece of literature which the literary theory is trying to focus on. This slide discusses what literary theory is. Before we delve deep into the discussion of what literary theory is, let's first look at the words literary theory. In literary, the word literary has to do more with literature. Now, what is the meaning of literature? If I go into the discussion of what is literature, it will become too vast of a discussion. However, it can be understood by examining a certain meanings that are by a few critics. Literature is defined as something that has to do with aesthetics, whereas by some other critics, literature is defined um, as life. Similarly, there is another synonym for literature, that is text. So now the question is that what is text? Now text could be a piece of poetry or it could be a novel. Similarly, um, let's take an example that I could also go to a cricket match and read the game there in some ways and gain understanding about the culture or about the team or what kind of effect does this game has over the people over society. Now, all of this observation or all this information, this knowledge about uh, reading game practically would also be considered as a text. And in literary theory, the word theory refers to the ideology, an idea, the fundamental or basic idea behind a notion. So, to understand literary theory, one needs to keep in mind that without the birth of a text, literary theory is not possible. So, for literary theory, text is very much important. Without text, there is no literary theory. And while creating a text, an author keeps the following two notions in focus. He either writes about things happening in society or he writes to influence the society, as it goes both ways. So, text is produced to tell us about the current situation, socio religious, political ideologies, and agendas that are going on in a society or are esteemed as a strong belief by an individual of a society. Such ideologies or notions are not available to be understood plainly. Rather, these need to be understood, analyzed, and interpreted by applying varying theories. Now, in these lines, the discussion is of the importance of text. That text is very much important uh, because without existence of a text, literary theory is not possible. So, both of them go in parallel. The existence of one makes the existence of other possible. Now, who creates the text? We are well familiar of that. An author creates a text. So when an author is creating a text, what is the idea? What is the ideology that is keeping him motivated, or that is actually making him develop a text or create a text? There can be two situations, there can be two reasons for which he is writing a text. One, that he can either be writing about whatever is happening in the society. In this situation, author is actually reflecting whatever is going on in the society. He is reflecting all of the knowledge back in the text. So over here, a text becomes a mirror. It becomes a mirror and it reflects back everything, whatever society does. Now, in the second situation, the reason why author writes a text can be because the writer wants to influence the society, because the author considers himself um, someone of a leader, someone who can uh, lead the people, someone of an influencer who has an ideology that he wants to share with the rest of the society. And in order to share his ideology, in order to spread his message, in order to spread the way he thinks, in order to spread that idea, he adopts to write the text. So, as we see that uh, a text is produced by using both of these ways, and it is very common that agenda behind producing the text comes out of these both ways. So we see that a text, what does a text do? It talks about the society's current situations, whatever the religious, social, political, economic, cultural ideologies or value system or traditions are there in the society. A text talk about all of those. Now, one thing that is very tricky in producing a text is that an author never writes a text plainly. He or she does not narrate the things as they are present in the society, even though they are writing about the society, but they never do so plainly. Rather, text is used as a code as well. So, it becomes the duty of a reader to interpret the text, and this can only be done uh, with the help of theories. Theories are ideologies, theories are the notions, the ideas, the basic building, the fundamental building ideas which are there at the base of every action, at the base of every motive, at the base of every experience. So these ideologies, uh, these theories, these literary theories are taken, these are adopted in order to analyze a text. And what text is doing? Text is depicting the society. Either it is depicting the society wholly and completely, or it is depicting the ideology of an individual, one person. That can be the author, or it can be someone an author wants to it can be someone an author wants to highlight. So text becomes a tool, it becomes a bridge that helps readers or people in understanding the society or individual better with the help of interpreting ideologies, which are literary theories. In this slide, um, I will discuss literary theory as it has been defined by a literary critic, a famous literary critic, Louis Tyson. So Louis Tyson, in her book Critical Theory Today, Readers Friendly Guide, second edition, she refers to literary theory. She defines literary theory as a lens that could be used to examine literature from various perspectives. Interestingly, for each perspective, literary theory offers a separate lens. Now, let's first understand this statement. In this statement, there has been put this idea that literature, examine literature from various perspectives. So first, we need to understand that how a piece of literature can be uh, analyzed. It can be examined. Consider literature similar to a car. For instance, if there is a car in front of you and you are asked to look at it from various angles, when you look at its front, you will get the knowledge of its appearance from a specific angle, that is the front angle. And when you look at uh, the back of the car, or the left side or the right side of the car, you will get the knowledge of its respective um, uh, its appearances from respective angles. So that means that as you are observing a car from a specific angle, you get knowledge about its appearance from that specific angle. So similar to this, uh, literary theory helps in understanding a piece of literature from specific and various uh, angles. One can analyze literature, however, not completely, not fully. Why? Because a piece of literature carries so many ideologies in it, so many domains to be analyzed in it, that it is not possible to analyze all the ideas with the help of one single tool. So literary theory is here for the aid, and as literary theory offers us so many different so many different theories which are based on different ideologies. So it brings a very good help in understanding and interpreting literature from various angles. For example, in literary theory, we have so many theories like formalism, structuralism, post-structuralism, deconstruction. We have post-colonialism, postmodern. We have African American literature, and so many other theories like reader response theories and new historicism. All of these theories actually provide us with different angles to analyze. These provide us with the tools of analyzing different angles of literature. So, coming towards the next point, think of theory as a lens. Think of theory as being similar to colored glasses. If you wear red colored glasses and look at an image, the original image will not change. However, the glasses will let you see the image with one dominating color. Similar is the case with theories. Literary theories do not change the text at all. They only help in focusing on a specific aspect of a text better and clearer. Now over here, a very fine example